The rain came down in sheets so heavy it turned the jungle trail into a river of mud. Lance Corporal Maya Chen stood at the helicopter pad with 70 pounds of gear strapped to her frame and a Barrett M82 A150 caliber rifle slung across her back. Watching the medevac bird disappear into the gray sky carrying the sniper who was supposed to be on this mission. Staff Sergeant Reeves had torn his ACL during pre-deployment training. One wrong step off a transport truck and the entire operation had lost its primary long-range asset. The mission brief had been clear. Someone needed to position a 50 cal sniper system on a ridgeline 19 kilometers from the landing zone to provide overwatch for a SEAL team extracting a high-value target from a compound in the valley below. The mission commander, a Marine captain named Torres, stood in the rain looking at his remaining personnel like he was counting cards and kept coming up short. "We need that rifle on target. The SEALs can't move without confirmed overwatch. Too many unknowns in that valley." "I'll take it." Maya stepped forward. Torres looked at her, really looked at her. 5'2", 115 pounds, soaking wet, which she currently was. The Barrett alone weighed 29 pounds. Add ammunition, water, body armor, medical kit, radio equipment, and everything else required for a 19-kilometer movement through hostile terrain, and she'd be carrying more than half her body weight. "Chen, I appreciate the volunteer spirit, but I'm qualified on the Barrett. I'm a designated marksman, and I'm the only shooter here with the training to make that shot." She kept her voice level, professional. "With respect, sir, we don't have time to debate load-bearing capacity. The SEALs step off in 6 hours, and we need to be in position before they move. The terrain is mountainous, dense jungle. That rifle is going to slow you down. Then I'll move faster." One of the other Marines, a Lance Corporal named Davis, who outweighed Maya by 80 pounds, spoke up. "Sir, no disrespect to Chen, but she's too small to carry that rifle 19 clicks through the mountains. Let me take it. I'm stronger, I can—" "You're not qualified on the platform," Maya interrupted. "You've never fired a 50 cal in your life. Strength doesn't matter if you can't make the shot when we get there." "I can learn. How hard can it be?" Maya turned to face him. "The Barrett has recoil that will break your collarbone if your positioning is wrong. It requires specific breathing techniques, trigger discipline, and range calculation that takes months to master. The shot we're looking at is 1,800 meters across a valley with variable wind conditions. You want to learn that in the next 6 hours?" Davis shut up. Torres looked at Maya for a long moment, calculating odds and options and the gap between what he needed and what he had. "You miss that shot. The SEALs are exposed and the mission fails." "I won't miss. You can't guarantee that." "No, sir. But I can guarantee I'm the best option you have right now." She adjusted the rifle on her back, redistributing the weight. "And I can guarantee I'll get that weapon to the firing position or die trying." Torres nodded slowly. "You've got the mission. You step off in 20 minutes. Radio check every hour. You fall behind schedule. I need to know immediately so we can adjust the SEAL timeline." "Yes, sir. And Chen, don't die trying. Die succeeding if you have to, but make the shot first." Maya grabbed her pack and moved toward the staging area. Behind her, she could hear Davis muttering to another Marine. "She's not going to make it. That rifle's going to break her before she hits the 10K mark." She didn't respond. Didn't waste energy on proving herself with words when she'd be proving herself with action soon enough. That had been her entire military career. Men assuming her size meant weakness. Assuming she couldn't keep up, couldn't carry the load, couldn't do the job. She'd stopped arguing years ago and started just doing the work while they stood around predicting her failure. The Barrett was heavy, brutally heavy, but she'd trained with it for 8 months, qualifying as one of 3 designated marksmen in her company who could operate the platform. The rifle had become familiar, an extension of her capability. She knew its weight, its balance, the way it pulled on her shoulder during long movements. She knew she could carry it 19 kilometers. The question was whether she could do it fast enough. 20 minutes later, Maya stepped off the landing zone with the Barrett, 70 pounds of gear, and a GPS unit showing the route to the ridgeline. The first kilometer was relatively flat, moving through cleared area near the forward operating base. She covered it in 11 minutes, maintaining a pace that would get her to position with an hour to spare before the SEALs began their approach. The second kilometer entered the jungle. The trail disappeared into vegetation so thick it blocked out the sky, turning afternoon into twilight. The rain continued, turning everything slick and treacherous. Maya's boots sank into mud with every step. The sucking sound loud in the oppressive silence of the jungle. The weight started to matter around kilometer 5. Not the rifle specifically, the entire load. 70 pounds pressing down on a frame that had no extra mass to distribute the burden. Her shoulders ached. Her lower back burned. Her legs started to question whether they could maintain the pace for another 14 kilometers. She ignored them and kept moving. Kilometer 7 brought the first real climb. The trail switched back up a steep hillside, gaining elevation through terrain that required both hands for balance. Maya had to unsling the Barrett and carry it in one hand, while using the other to grab vegetation and pull herself upward. The rifle's weight became a liability, threatening to pull her backward with every step. She made it to the top in 40 minutes, breathing hard, her uniform soaked through with rain and sweat. A quick map check confirmed she was still on schedule. Barely. She'd lost 8 minutes on the climb. Radio check came through from Torres. Rover 2, this is base. Status report. Maya keyed her radio. Base, Rover 2. 7 kilometers complete. On schedule. No enemy contact. Copy. Weather is deteriorating. The SEALs may have to move their timeline up. Can you increase pace? She looked at the trail ahead. 12 more kilometers, mostly uphill, through jungle that got denser and steeper with elevation. I'll try. That's not a confirmation, Rover 2. It's the best I can give you, base. I'm carrying 70 pounds through a monsoon. I'm moving as fast as the terrain allows. A pause. Then Torres came back, his voice different. Less commander, more human. Understood. Do what you can. The mission depends on you. I know. Rover 2 out. Maya reloaded the Barrett onto her back and kept moving. Faster now, pushing past the pain signals her body was sending. The weight didn't matter. The distance didn't matter. There was only the mission and the meters between her current position and the firing point. Kilometer 10 nearly broke her. The trail crossed a river swollen from the rain, the water moving fast and chest deep. Maya had to hold the Barrett above her head to keep it dry while wading across current that tried to sweep her downstream. Her feet lost contact with the bottom twice. Only her grip on submerged rocks kept her from being carried away. She made it across and collapsed on the far bank, gasping, every muscle screaming. The rifle was still dry. The gear was intact. She was still mission capable. That was all that mattered. She gave herself 2 minutes to recover, then stood and kept moving. The rain stopped around kilometer 13, but the damage was done. The trail had transformed into a mudslide. Maya's boots lost traction constantly, forcing her to move in a crouch to maintain balance. The Barrett shifted on her back with every slip, threatening to pull her down. At kilometer 15, she fell. Her right foot went out from under her and she went down hard, landing on her side with the rifle pinned beneath her. Pain exploded through her ribs. She lay there for 10 seconds trying to remember how to breathe, then forced herself upright and checked the Barrett. No damage. The scope was still zeroed. The weapon was operational. She stood and immediately fell again. Her right ankle had twisted in the fall, not badly enough to break, but enough to make weight-bearing questionable. She tested it. Pain, but functional. She could still walk, still move. She kept going. 4 kilometers left. The ridgeline was visible now through breaks in the vegetation, a rocky outcropping that would provide the perfect firing position. Maya could see it, could calculate the remaining distance, could feel her body starting to shut down from exhaustion and pain and the accumulated punishment of carrying impossible weight over impossible terrain. Davis's voice echoed in her memory. She's too small to carry that rifle 19 clicks. She used the anger as fuel, pushed harder, moved faster despite the ankle and the weight and the exhaustion. Kilometer 17 brought the final climb, a near vertical scramble up exposed rock that required removing the Barrett again and pulling it up separately. Maya climbed with her injured ankle throbbing, her hands torn and bleeding from gripping sharp rock, her vision starting to tunnel from dehydration and fatigue. She made it to the top and had to sit down before her legs gave out completely. The GPS showed 18.4 kilometers traveled, 600 meters to the firing position. The radio crackled. Torres's voice, urgent now. Rover 2. The SEALs are moving early. Weather window is closing. We need you in position in 30 minutes, or we abort. Maya looked at the remaining distance. 600 meters across relatively flat ridge. 30 minutes. Even injured and exhausted, she could make that. Rover 2 copies. I'll be in position. Boss, you better be. Those SEALs are counting on you. She stood, loaded the Barrett one more time, started moving. 23 minutes later, Maya reached the firing position. A rocky outcrop that provided clear line of sight down into the valley where the target compound sat nestled against the far slope. She dropped her pack, set up the Barrett on its bipod, and began the range calculations. 1,840 meters to target. Wind from the northwest at 12 kilometers per hour. Temperature 28 degrees Celsius. Humidity near saturation. The scope's ballistic computer processed the data and gave her the adjustments. She settled into firing position and immediately felt the 19 kilometers in every joint and muscle. Her hands shook slightly from exhaustion. Her breathing was too fast, too shallow. Her injured ankle screamed every time she adjusted position. She gave herself 5 minutes to recover. Drank water, ate an energy bar she didn't taste, forced her heart rate down through deliberate breathing exercises. When she looked through the scope again, her hands were steady. The radio came alive. Rover 2, this is SEAL 1. We are beginning approach. Confirm overwatch position, Maya keyed her radio. SEAL 1, Rover 2 is in position and has eyes on target compound. You are cleared to move. Copy that. Call out any threats. Through the scope, Maya watched the valley. The compound had 4 buildings arranged in a square. Guards at 2 positions. No visible heavy weapons. The SEALs would be approaching from the east, using the terrain for concealment until the final 200 meters. Then, she saw the problem. A pickup truck with a mounted heavy machine gun, was moving up the access road toward the compound. If it reached the compound before the SEALs hit their assault position, the gun would have clear fields of fire on the approach route. The SEALs would be cut down before they got close. SEAL 1, Rover 2, you have a technical approaching from the south. ETA to compound approximately 4 minutes. If that gun gets into position, your approach is compromised. Can you take it out? Maya calculated. The truck was moving. Range was approximately 1,900 meters and increasing as it drove away from her position. The shot required hitting a moving vehicle at nearly maximum effective range with a rifle she'd just carried 19 kilometers through a monsoon while injured. Stand by. She adjusted her scope, led the target, compensated for the truck's speed and the wind and the slight elevation difference. The Barrett's recoil would be massive. She had one shot before the driver realized he was under fire and took evasive action. Her finger moved to the trigger. Her breathing slowed. Her heart rate dropped. Everything that had happened in the last 6 hours, the weight, the distance, the pain, the doubt, fell away. There was only the shot. The Barrett roared. 1,900 meters downrange, the Technical's front tire exploded. The truck swerved violently, the driver overcorrecting, and the vehicle left the road and rolled twice before coming to rest on its side in a drainage ditch. The machine gun was offline. The approach was clear. SEAL 1, threat neutralized. You are clear to proceed. Holy shit, Rover 2. That was an incredible shot. Moving now. Maya chambered another round and maintained overwatch while the SEALs made their approach. They hit the compound fast and professional, breaching simultaneously from two sides. Through the scope, Maya watched for threats, ready to engage any hostile that appeared. One guard emerged from a building with a weapon. Maya's second shot dropped him before he could acquire a target. Another hostile appeared on a rooftop. Her third shot removed the threat. 12 minutes after the assault began, the SEALs extracted with their target, a Taliban commander who'd been coordinating attacks throughout the province. They moved quickly back toward the extraction point, covered by Maya's overwatch the entire way. When they reached safety, SEAL 1 came back on the radio. Rover 2, SEAL 1. We are clear and moving to exfil. That was outstanding work. You saved our asses today. Just doing my job, SEAL 1. That was a hell of a lot more than a job. That was 19 kilometers and an impossible shot. Whoever you are, Rover 2, you're a goddamn artist. Maya didn't respond. Just started breaking down the Barrett, her hands moving through the familiar motions while her body reminded her of every meter she'd traveled and every pound she'd carried. The hike back to the landing zone took 7 hours. She moved slower now. The adrenaline gone, the mission complete. Nothing left except pain and exhaustion and the knowledge that she'd done what they said she couldn't. Torres met her at the LZ with a medic and a stretcher. Maya waved off the stretcher and walked the last 100 meters on her own power, refusing to let anyone see her carried after she'd carried that rifle 19 kilometers. She handed the Barrett to the armorer, gave her after-action report to Torres, and finally let the medic check her ankle. Severe sprain, bruised ribs, dehydration, torn muscles in her shoulders and back. Nothing permanent, nothing that wouldn't heal. Torres stood beside the medical tent while the medic worked. The SEAL team commander called me personally to say you made that mission possible. Said the shot on the Technical was one of the best pieces of long-range shooting he'd seen in 20 years of operations. Maya said nothing. Davis owes you an apology. Davis owes me nothing. He made an assumption based on what he saw. I proved him wrong with what I did. That's how this works. You almost didn't make it. Almost doesn't matter. I made it. I made the shot. The SEALs came home. That's all that matters. Torres studied her face. You know you don't have anything left to prove, right? You've been proving yourself for your entire career. At some point, the work should speak for itself. The work does speak for itself. To people who listen. Maya stood carefully, testing her injured ankle. The others will keep making assumptions. Keep saying I'm too small, too weak, too whatever. I stopped caring about changing their minds. I just focus on doing the job they think I can't do. She limped toward her bunk, leaving Torres standing in the rain that had started falling again. Behind her, she could hear voices from the Marines who'd watched her return, some impressed, some still skeptical, some probably already making excuses for why her success didn't count or didn't matter. She didn't listen to any of them. That night, lying in her rack with her ankle elevated and pain medication finally dulling the worst of the damage, Maya received a message through official channels. The SEAL team commander had submitted her for a commendation. The citation mentioned the 19-kilometer movement through hostile terrain, the precision shot on a moving target at extreme range, and the calm professionalism under pressure that had made a high-risk mission successful. She read it once and deleted it. Awards were nice, recognition was fine, but neither changed the fundamental truth she had learned years ago, that her value wasn't determined by whether people believed in her capability. It was determined by whether she could actually do the work when it mattered most. She'd carried a 29-pound rifle 19 kilometers through a monsoon while injured, and she'd made an impossible shot at 1,900 meters on a moving target. She'd proven that size was just a number, and strength came in forms that couldn't be measured by how much you could bench press or how tall you stood. They'd said she was too small to carry the rifle. She'd carried it 19 kilometers and still made the shot that saved lives. That was all the proof she needed, all the validation that mattered, all the evidence required to know that she belonged exactly where she was, doing exactly what she did, regardless of what anyone assumed about what her frame could or couldn't handle. The rifle hadn't been too heavy. Their expectations had just been too small.